What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Just Like Smith channel. In today's video, we are finally going to be installing our Mechman Alternator. So I do have an unboxing and overview video on this alternator, which is laying right here. But in today's video, we're going to show you how to actually install it. So I know this is a long awaited video after y'all watched the unboxing and product spotlight video pretty much. So we're very excited to see me install it and see what kind of gains and stuff that I get. So I do believe that I'm having some alternator issues right now out of the truck. So the truck either has a small parasitic draw, or the alternator is drawing a little bit, or the alternator isn't charging very well. I also do believe that I have a corroded battery terminal that is causing maybe some issues as well. So we are going to upgrade to some big 6-spot billet terminals. So right here, sorry for all the fingerprints, but these are some beautiful billet terminals that have 6 locations to attach stuff to. Negatives right here, positives right here. We did it by 4, so if you're watching this Mechman Alternator install and you don't have a 6.0 or a diesel truck, you probably just have 1 battery, or maybe you have upgraded and done 2 batteries. So you will need 4 terminals instead of just 2 for each battery. So right quick, guys, I know we're just now getting into the video, but I just want to stop in and say that these battery terminals that I'm using, the billet battery terminals, they will be in the description box down below. There will be a link to where you can pick those up, along with a link for the alternator, along with a link for the wiring kit that I used, and anything else miscellaneous, along with some other random stuff in the description box down below. Click those links to get the best deals and to help support the YouTube channel. Let's get back into the video. And right here I believe is one of our culprits. So this terminal is one of our culprits. This battery terminal is pretty rusty and old, and I feel like it's not getting a good connection. I also went ahead and threw 2 brand new batteries in. So these are brand new batteries and they have been on charge all night long. So they were brand new to begin with anyway, but I just wanted to make sure these were fully charged before I disconnected the terminals and everything. So that's what we're gonna go ahead and do next, is get both of these batteries removed. So then we can install this alternator along with the new terminals. Right now, whenever the truck is idling and running, we're in like the low 11 volts. So there's obviously a charging issue somewhere. Hopefully this is our problem. So this alternator that we're putting in the truck is rated for like 340 amps or something, but whenever they tested it in their perfect lab setting and stuff, it did produce like 360 amps. So it's a very strong alternator. I want to say the factory one is like 115 amps or something, so this should be twice as much power, probably 3 times as much power. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and set up a little time lapse and start tearing this thing apart. We do have to take off the factory alternator, so we're gonna disconnect, unplug all the wires. We're gonna unplug the batteries first though. So that's what I'm gonna do right now, is remove both of the batteries out of the truck. You wanna go ahead and throw you on a new belt and belt tensioner with your new alternator install, just to eliminate those as being a cause of anything. So we will be throwing on a new belt and a new belt tensioner, and I don't know if I'll show that or do a separate video or what. I'm gonna go ahead and pull these batteries out, and then we will get started on the install.
Perfect.
Alright guys, so there is a bolt right here under the alternator. It is not needed, and it gets in the way of installing the new alternator. Alright guys, so we have our positive 0 gauge make sure you use OFC, which is oxygen-free copper. So make sure that you use OFC 0 gauge wire. We're going through our instructions right here in the email that Tony sent us from Mechman Alternators. Right here it says 0 gauge power and 0 gauge OFC wire needs to be used. One power wire directly to your battery. If you have two batteries, run the power wire to the closest battery, which will be right here. Alternator, battery, alternator, battery. So we're going to this battery. You can run a second power wire to the other battery, but you're simply wasting your time / money as it has zero improvement at the power level / length of the wire. The 0 gauge negative wire needs to mimic exactly what you did with the power wire. Pick one of the 3 mounting bolts and run the ground wire to the battery you connected the power wire to. If you ran 2 power wires to each battery, then 2 negative wires need to be ran as well. Electricity is a circle, not a drag strip. It needs to be consistently open flow path of circulation. Alternators will work good without a ground connection, but it will be more efficient with proper wiring. You may choose to leave your OE power wire in place / connected to the alternator if it is difficult to remove. The upgraded cable is what is important. So that's why we're doing the 0 gauge OFC. I went ahead and put the Mechman shrink wrap right here, but this is actually from Scar, but I covered up their logo with the Mechman logo because I thought it looked better. I like the red, so I'm going to use the red on the power wires, and I'm going to use their black on the white wires, which are right here. And this is the big 3 upgrade, so it does come with 2 grounds. So I think you run 1 ground to the battery and then 1 ground from the battery to the frame, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, right here is where the positive battery cable is going to go, and you do not want to turn the truck on or do anything until you have everything hooked up. Do not touch the truck. Do not turn anything on, off until you have installed everything. So this bad boy is going to go right there, and this power wire will run directly to the battery. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ground the alternator. The paint is ground off right here, and the paint is ground off right here. So I assume it would not make a difference which one you use. Just to make it look cleaner, I'm going to ground to this bolt right here. But anyway, I'm going to hook the ground wire up right here and run those to where they will go to the battery right here. Have to drill this hole out a little bit bigger, so then the factory alternator bolt would drop down through there. What I used to drill through that hole right there was I just held it in my hand and drilled slow and steady with a brand new step bit. So the step bit only went up to 1/2 inch. I don't remember what I went to, but I didn't go all the way to 1/2 inch. I just had to go up like 1 or 2 steps from where it was already at. So now we're going to get this tightened down and get that wire ran with this one, and then we will work on trying to get our battery installed with our new terminals. Say a few hours. It's probably been about an hour and 30 minutes that I've been working on this passenger side, because it's the one that's going to have the most work. And I actually ended up doing something pretty cool. On my passenger side, my terminals weren't really in bad shape. So what I done, and I'm going to show you, is I cleaned them up, degreased them, used some battery terminal cleaner and a wire brush, cleaned them, and I actually cut them into terminals, because what I have right now to do 0 gauge wire in is this piece right here. So what this piece right here does is it actually, you pull this down and you put your terminal in here, and then you whack this thing with a hammer right here, 3-pound sledgehammer, and it actually crimps the big 0 gauge wire, because these terminals, guys, are heavy duty. You know what I mean? Like, this is thick material, and it's for 0 gauge. So I have 1 terminal left over out of the Scar kit, and what I have done, I'm going to go ahead and show you. So right here, it looks really, really good, guys, doesn't it? I am super happy with this. So I ended up using that Mechman heat shrink on everything. So what I actually had was right here these terminals right here, I actually cut them apart. So here are the old terminals, and I cut the factory heat shrink and like the gel coating right here off. On this side, there was actually a ground wire that was tied in to this terminal. And what I done, which I may still go back and take this off and round this out with like a Dremel to make this all symmetrical. But what I done was I literally cut in a straight line and cut the block off of this one. And I pulled the heat shrink off, and then I re-put some new electrical tape with heat shrink on that plastic loom. And then I also heat shrinked this ground wire, which was tied in with this ground wire. So now I have 3 ground wires on my ground terminal. This one goes to the alternator up through here and to the alternator. This power wire goes from the alternator around to the battery. And then right here there was like a junction box. So with this power wire, which goes over to my other battery, there was a junction box that connected this to this, and then it also had a stud on it. So what I done was actually cut this and I rounded it, cleaned it and scrubbed it with some cleaner, and drilled the hole out bigger. And then this right here, I ended up making it is actually a ring terminal. It looks just like this ring terminal and this ring terminal. I made that ring terminal out of the actual factory bracket. So it ended up looking pretty good, and I didn't have to buy anything. And all of these terminals, I put new heat shrink on them. So this is factory wiring with new heat shrink, except for this one right here. I couldn't really get to it to cut the factory heat shrink off, and it was really clean and in good shape, so I left that alone. But this side is pretty much done, and then this one over here, I'll probably just end up cleaning this one up, maybe throw on some of that Mechman heat shrink just to make it all match, and I'll drill this hole out to make that hole a little bit bigger to where it'll go right onto my terminals. See behind me, we've got this side done. I'm gonna go ahead and knock out the other side off camera and get those battery terminals and stuff figured out, and then I'll show it to you all, and then we will give this thing a start up and see how the batteries are charging, see what kind of voltage we've got going, and we will look at the programmer. That's what I went with before. We'll also maybe throw a multimeter on this just to get a more accurate reading, but hopefully, fingers crossed, we're getting a lot more voltage on the programmer. All right, guys, so we are finished. Devin just now showed up to take a look at it. Devin, do you approve?
Looks great.
Looks great, Devin says. All right, so I'm gonna climb up under the hood and I'm gonna show you what all we done. All right, guys, so over here we have the old positive that I cleaned up and modified. Right there's another positive. There is for the fuel system. That's the positive for the fuel system. Then we have the ground for the fuel system and the factory ground on the truck. 3 positive terminals left, and we have 4 negative terminals. Over here on this side, we have 2 positive terminals left and 3 negatives, so we can always add more stuff. This is the 320 amp, but of course they test even more than that. This one tested at 360 amps, so the factory one is like 115. So it's like putting 3 factory alternators on the truck, pretty much. So with that being said, guys, we're gonna go ahead and start the truck up. Let's hope for the best. We have power inside, so should have everything good. This might be one of those vehicles that they said you have to have the factory power wire hooked up. So no big deal. What that is, I'm thinking, is the factory power wire isn't hooked up right now, so it doesn't necessarily need that factory power wire for like a charging system, but he did say that on certain vehicles, like the factory power wire that used to go to the alternator can run like to a fuse box to open relays, do stuff like that. So everything's getting power and everything, but I think there's just something not like turning on getting power to actually start the truck up. So that's what I'm gonna do, is I'm gonna hook that factory power wire back up, and then we will be good to go, I think. So what I've done different was the factory power wire, I went and I ran it up here as well. That's all tightened down now. Alternator's plugged in, good to go. Everything's hooked up to the battery. And then right here is another factory positive wire that I had to add This was just laying over here, and I was trying to run without it just to have an extra open positive terminal. But nonetheless, everything is hooked up now, and hopefully she starts. Fingers crossed. Come on, baby. There we go. That's all she needed right there. So I'm pretty sure what that done was just pretty much open up like a fuse or a relay or something that has to do with the truck running, and you have to have that hooked up. So we should be good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it out, and we'll go for a little test drive. So the truck seems to be idling a lot smoother right now. See, sorry about the dog in the background, but the truck seems to be idling a lot smoother right now. Let's see what we're at voltage-wise. See how this thing's charging. Come on, little boy. Oh my God, 14.3. Dude, heck yeah. Holy cow. 14 point, let's see what the max is. 14.4 is the max right there. 14.4 max voltage, and we are just sitting here idling at 14.3 volts, guys. Holy cow. Mechman alternators, you all killed it. The alternator is awesome, and so far it's working even better than it looks. So I am super, super excited. Like I say about a lot of stuff before I get time to try it, usually all of this stuff that I get to try, it looks so good. I always say, if it works as good as it looks, we're in the clear, we're good to go. So we're at 70 PSI fuel pressure, 14.2 volts of voltage right now, 100 degrees coolant and oil. We're gonna go for a little test drive, me and Devin. So let's go see how this thing does. All right, guys, so we're about to, we're like 120 degrees, so it's gonna still run a little bit rough, but let's do a little pull, see how she's doing. Oh man, I'm telling you guys, the truck actually drives and runs better. Driving down the road right now, and like I said, guys, the truck is honestly running a lot better. Right now, driving down the road, a little bit of throttle, 14.5 volts, holy cow. That is awesome. And I do still have the subs and stuff hooked up, so there is one amplifier running. Obviously, the music isn't on right now, so it's not really like running, so to say, but I'm gonna try that out too and see if there's any voltage drop, like when the bass hits and stuff, because I used to have severe voltage drop when the bass would hit. But another thing with these 6.0s, guys, is that fuel injection control module that literally is the brain of your injectors. The injectors can make a truck run so much different. So your fuel injection control module not getting proper voltage, it can make a huge difference, guys, with a bad terminal, bad battery cable, a bad alternator, all kinds of stuff. So the truck is actually driving a lot smoother and a lot better. Absolutely, a lot better. Now keep in mind, I think my alternator's been a little weak or going bad for a little while, and the fuel pump, I didn't have a fuel pressure gauge, so I have been running the truck with low fuel pressure. So my injectors are pretty much shot or not very healthy at all. And the truck could probably use an oil change as well. Sometimes that will help them run a little bit better. And yeah, that's gonna be all for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it. Huge shout out to Mechman Alternators for teaming up with the Just Knock Smith YouTube channel and letting me make you all this video. So huge shout out to them, and I hope you all enjoy it. I will link everything down below that I use in this video, the battery terminals, the alternator, everything in the description box down below, along with a couple other helpful links. And that's gonna be all for today's video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it. Always remember, everybody starts out as nobody, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Oh, hello? Well, never mind.